Hi, everybody. Our DroidCon Online here webinar today, 16th of September. Really glad to have everyone with us. Those of you who've joined before in the past know that I try to keep my intros really short because you're here to see the speaker and not me. I just usually like to do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning, which is to just remind you to use the Q&A tab on the right of your screen to ask questions and not post them in the chat. And that's about it. We're going to get started and invite Vlad here to come up on stage. He'll need to just turn on his cam and mic, and then he'll join me up here. This is going to be a really cool talk, and this is really fun. The background on this is great. Watching this, Vlad's going to explain. I'm not going to reveal too much, but I think this is a really cool story here about how this came to be. They're building their first mobile application with Flutter in a week with literally zero experience. So, Vlad, I'd love to have you join me up on stage if you're able to. Just on the bottom of your screen, click on the cam on and mic on buttons. There you are. Welcome.
Vlad, thank you.
Okay, it worked. Good. That's all the intro I have. The session's going to be recorded. It'll be online tomorrow. We're good to go. So I'm going to disappear and let you take over. You'll be able to share your screen. Again, this is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward, Vlad, to what you're presenting. And again, please use the Q&A tab, and I'll pop on really briefly at the very end. Again, Vlad, to get us kicked off with Q&A, and we'll go from there. All right, it's all you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Let me go into presenting, share, and all right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I will take you through the story of how Sentry got to focus on Flutter, how we build our Flutter SDK, and what's next for us. Right. So quickly within this narrative, right, we'll go a little bit background. But more importantly, outside of this, I just want to talk about the purpose, the reasons for which we focused and took on the initiatives of building our mobile apps in Flutter, and also kind of do a very brief walkthrough recent product improvements with regards to the needs of mobile developers, and do a little bit of a hands-on practice about, hey, this is some code. We are going to introduce some errors. They're going to pop up in Sentry.io, and go through we'll go through the end-to-end flow of generating errors, capturing, and seeing them into the product. Now, as means of background, so at Sentry once a year we do a Hackweek, and recently I think we've decided to do that every 6 months. But all in all, Hackweeks for us are incredibly successful projects. And we, about a year ago, our engineering team was wanting to try to figure out, we wanted to do something that Sentry doesn't have, and to learn new technologies. And at the time, the Flutter SDK, Sentry's Flutter SDK was initially maintained by the open source community. A few Google engineers created the SDK. And so we knew that there is a Flutter SDK, though nobody in the company had any experience with using it or using Flutter or Dart. So for developers wanted to put themselves in a position where they have 1 week for accelerated learning and get something together, like ship a product or make a product viable or believable or credible, right? And within that, we decided that, at least they decided that the most meaningful product that I can put together in a week is going to solve the problem of, should I get out of the bed today? Like, I wake up in the bed, do I have any bugs I need to fix? Because if I don't have any bugs I need to fix, then I'm going to I'm going to delay my rising time. So that's it. That is the goal. The goal is to put together an app, look at the release health data, from there get enough of a signal to say, hey, do I have a bug I need to fix today or not, and move on. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you haven't done any Flutter work, Dart, if you're not familiar with Dart language, right? 1 week to go from nothing to credible product, or to to product that actually does something, it's intensive studying and intensive coding, and our challenges were around just getting used to Flutter, right? Learning the language and getting a functional demo out. And I'm pretty sure I'm not saying anything surprising. Anybody that puts together this sort of a milestones kind of experiences a certain rush of, holy shit, there's a lot of work that we need to go through. But we really did. So within a week, we've been able to put together, this is a very simple UI. And essentially it's the release health, right? Every page here represents one of your projects, and you can scroll through each project and you'll see how many errors you have, crash-free sessions, crash-free users, a list of errors, and it was credible. It was credible enough that the company decided to actually put resources behind this and fund it and put the effort to create an app for us. So the road to GA, when we think in terms of, well, 1 week proof of concept, go to production, there's a lot of stuff that we actually need to do, right? For example, design. We actually got a designer to help with this, and the app certainly is improved in look and feel. But the important thing is that it doesn't go away from its core mission, right? We still want an app to focus on the release health data and only release health data. The second part is avoid a lot of authentication work if we have to, right? The goal of the app right now is it's for us to use, for some customers to use, but it's not a like Instagram app, right? It doesn't need to have everything. So we decided to use either a QR code or copy and paste authentication tokens into the app and just and actually go without a more mature login flow. Believe it or not, we didn't, when we did the Hackweek project, we didn't integrate the Sentry SDK. We just wanted to get stuff running. So obviously for our production app, we integrated the Sentry SDK and we leveraged Sentry to be able to discover crashes and errors. But also during this process, we started to take more ownership over the Sentry Flutter SDK. And I think that the most important, not as important, is to set appropriate expectations about what the app does and what the app doesn't do. Specifically around Sentry does a lot of stuff, right? There's crash information. It has a very rich query interface, and getting that into the mobile app isn't something that we really had an interest for, right? So it's setting appropriate expectations about what the app doesn't do and what the app does it was kind of important to make sure that folks don't come in with missed expectations. We also decided to open source it, and if you like the app and if you like new features, feel free to submit a pull request. And obviously, with everybody that has submitted apps for review before, you know the toil that comes with all the work to get ready for review and approval. But along the way, in the past 10 months, Sentry invested heavily on evolving our mobile solution offerings for customers, right? And it was really good. The timing couldn't be better. All of a sudden, in the last 8 months, we introduced support for semantic version, and I'm going to demo a little bit of this in the product. So now customers can actually sort and filter releases by their semantic version. Our release workflow has improved. We introduced this idea of release adoption that gives you a sense between high adoption, low adoption, and be able to search and filter a release based on its adoption numbers. And we also have a really great summary around a release detail page that gives you a comparison between this release, right, the most recent release with past releases. And from there, you can get a sense of quality metrics that are important to you. I'll spend a few minutes in the product and just briefly go through these screens as a matter of getting familiar with Sentry, but I won't really spend too much time into it. Now, so demo time. Let me go change tabs here. So this is the Sentry mobile app and the Sentry product. So here you can go at releases, which we are. We can see that the latest release, Sentry Mobile, adoption rate 100% adoption. We have about 27 crashes, 11 new issues, right? But this is the really cool stuff. You can easily go with our search and filter and go release stages and say, hey, show me all releases that are adopted. So because we want to be able to support multiple active releases. Sentry Mobile isn't big enough of an app to have multiple active releases, but that doesn't mean that your apps don't do that, right? A lot of our customers have multiple active releases. So this way, you can go into, obviously, you get a list of releases that have an adoption higher than 20%. And you go into the product details page where you're getting a summary of how this release compares with previous releases, right? And on the bottom, obviously, you get the list of new issues, all issues, and so on. Currently, we are looking to update the Flutter SDK with performance monitoring APIs. So we'll start recording transactions, though right now this section is empty. Now, the thing is that you see the release view is a curated view, really, in the sense of if I go here and I go to issues. No, hold on. This let me redo this again. So if I go to issues, you'll notice that this is the issues interface, right? And this is an example of being able to filter all your issues based on either first release or a semantic version should you want to do that, right? You can do this version, and you can have access to say, show me only the bugs or issues relevant to a release. Well, that's pretty much all I'm going to do right now for Sentry product updates. Again, my goal right now isn't to talk about all Sentry has to offer, but mostly around the release management functionality that we've evolved our product for mobile apps, and they are equally related to Flutter. No, this was not built using Flutter Web. No. Now what I want to do next is to go into Visual Studio and into Visual Studio Code and start adding some errors, and through that generate errors, capture them into the product, and just go through this overall experience, right? Before that, let me first change my organization to where I have a sample project, which is my Sentry mobile demo app. Let me change what I'm sharing right now. I will. All right. So by the way, if folks type in live Q&A, that window is minimized, so I don't see it. So just let me go through this, and then I can go back to that tab. So here we have what? We have our Visual Studio Code. I have the product, and I'm running in the emulator. So oftentimes, if you write code like this, which I don't necessarily recommend, but we have it right now, it's very easy for folks to make mistakes, like to mistype, right? And what happens is that when you run your apps, we are going to run into an error. The SDK will catch it, and then we'll receive an alert on it. So some sound effects until this builds. I think this might be taking a little too long. Here you go. So we are moving on. All right, so we know we got an error, and as much as I want to retry, things are not going to work. We'll give it a few minutes for the error to show up in the UI. In the meantime, let me update this. Actually, let me revert this change so that right. Let's do a retry. This should be working now. And yep. All right, let's see. Let's look at the exceptions or the errors that we're getting. Here we go, 39 seconds ago, right? So we had an error because we don't know, or we are too in a hurry to spell the path, the URL right. Then we go into API error. And here we have essentially the stack trace. And additionally, we have the breadcrumbs, right? And the sequence of calls that ultimately led to the error that we have, right? Another example, actually, let me jump to this. I think for folks that are actually interested in learning about our SDK, I think it's best to go to the screen. And we added this thing, like if you hold on a version, we have a dialog that goes like, from here you can simulate all sorts of errors that demonstrates different usage of our SDKs, right? So you can actually simulate what's like to Sentry send event, capture event, and so on and so forth. And all of this is visible in this file, like Sentry Flutter SDK Dart, that actually gives you examples of invoking every single one of the capabilities that we have. So Sentry doesn't really crash that much, but I'm sorry, in Flutter it doesn't really crash that much, but occasionally it does, right? So here, if we go to, I have here a nice exception. For example, if you are to throw an exception before you are returning the scaffold, the app will crash and it will become visible in the issue stream. This is an example where yes, it's going to generate this example here. Right. So, and it has the wonderful markers to tell you that this is an unhandled exception, which obviously it's high priority. It should never happen. So for us, when we thought about Flutter and the investment in Flutter, right, it's mostly a commitment to make sure that we as a company continue to develop and maintain the expertise where we can actually serve the Flutter community, right? We are very much focused in delivering a performance monitoring API for the SDK. We will update. We'll continue to update our SDKs for these new enhanced capabilities, and quite honestly, we really want to get your feedback on what you'd like to see, and tell us more about your usage, or tell us more about what else can we do to make sure that we can serve the needs that you all have. That's pretty much it from of what I have from an update on the at least for this talk. Let's see. Oh, I do have one more thing. There is a promo code. Let me share this. Yeah, so for new users of Sentry, you can use Sentry Business Plan for 2 months with the promo code DroidCon21. that's actually a pretty good deal. So if you have never used Sentry, please give it a try and give us feedback. And yeah. Right, let me stop sharing Q&A.
Just thought I'd jump back in here, Vlad, here to see. So presentation, great, done. Anything else to share with the viewers today, other than promo code?
I think at the end of the day, what I want to share is that I have a pretty dedicated team of making sure that the stuff we put out for customers really meets their expectations, right? When you have feedback, if you have ideas, if you have opinions, please reach out to us on GitHub, right? Check out the Sentry mobile app. If you want to make improvements, submit a PR, right? And we are very, very, very much wanting to be here to listen and provide solutions that, quite honestly, make your life easier so you can do your other stuff.
Absolutely. Good. I'm not seeing any questions. There was one, and I can't recall if you answered that. It was asked in the chat, was the product built using Flutter Web? I'm not sure if you had addressed that or not before.
Yes, I mentioned, but I'll go back. No, it wasn't built using Flutter Web.
Okay. All right. Good. So we do have Q&A. We'll just see if we get any questions coming in here about the build, about Sentry, and we can. But I think you've covered it. You know, the great thing about what you guys do is it's very straightforward, and so this is great. I'm not seeing any questions coming in, Vlad. So is there a way to? Oh, nope. Here, go ahead. Can you read the question now?
Yes. Let me go there. What were the challenges that you faced initially, since you mentioned that it was the first time you all were using Flutter? All of them. When we think about it, right? Imagine this, right? Declarative UI. Back in 2020, it wasn't that common, right? Now you have Swift UI and you have Jetpack and so on, but back then it was not something that folks are comfortable with. So that alone, it takes a while to learn, right? Just being comfortable with it and being familiar with it takes time. The second part is that we are using Redux. And the really cool thing with that is that you have a declarative UI and then you have a state management system. So therefore, UI is state. And again, I mean, some folks are more familiar with these patterns than others, but implementing all of this in a completely new language is still a challenge. That is a challenge in the sense of you just need to learn enough to feel comfortable that the stuff that you do don't get you in more trouble than not, right? So it's just this ramp up time that is actually challenging for us. Outside of that, I feel like having restraint is incredibly important for us, because we had quite a few debates. This app can be so much more. It's like, and folks can be very impressionable and persuasive and wanting you to do more. But at the end of the day, it is still a mobile app, right? So having the discipline to say, hey, we're only going to focus on this because this is the most important things we can present in a mobile app, and enables us to be successful with developing and releasing, right? I think that was a challenge too. Obviously, it's not a technical challenge, but that's certainly had a share of discussions. And I would say that, like, if you noticed, we didn't do a full-blown auth, right? Maybe we will in the future, but we wanted to not focus there. So that's why we have this other solution with the QR code, and you insert an API key, and let's unblock that and let's focus on the app and get that done, right? It's not more than that, right? I mean, this is not a very complicated app, right? You have a few widget composites, right? So from the if you are an intermediate developer, you should be able to put together this app with relative ease. Like if you've done a few code samples and you've done a few apps, this is not a very complicated app. For us, it was mostly around just just building it, getting the experience, and through that, start to get ownership of the Flutter SDK. Because right now, the Flutter SDK is our own maintenance. And all the work that we are doing right now to introduce performance monitoring capabilities to the SDK is through our own efforts as well, right? But you need all of these exercises to familiarize yourself and to grow your skill set to the point in which you can actually start adding and improving on the work that the community has, or evolving the work that the community has had.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. All right, Vlad, I think we're not having any other questions come in right now, but I appreciate you joining us today in your time in San Francisco. Thanks so much for being here. And this is definitely something that we'll keep tabs on. I hope that people will take your invitation to help contribute to the to what you've done on open source here with PRs and whatever. I think that'd be fantastic. Oh, I was just about to shut it down, and it looks like there was another question here. Was there any specific reason for choosing Flutter when there are so many other frameworks like multi-platform mobile that are growing fast?
Yeah, definitely. So there are two reasons, right? One, well, we are selfish. We wanted to flirt with Flutter. Flutter was the thing in there that a lot of developers were winking at. So there was a personal interest that folks wanted to dive into Flutter. And the second part, actually, no, alongside those interests, we sincerely appreciated the existing efforts of the community to kickstart an SDK and commit time and energy. I mean, it's a ton of work for people to go out of their way to say, hey, I really love your product. I'm going to create an SDK for you because obviously you're not doing it, because I'm finding this really helpful to me. And that, at least for us and for me, that's a felt experience. And when you see people going out of their way to do that, it persuades the engineering team to say, holy shit, and generate the interest. I'm not suggesting that other folks don't do that. A lot of folks do it, but I would have missed to not point out that we noticed those efforts and we got it got the engineers interested in it. The second part is that Flutter is taking off. At least it's been taking off for a while. Obviously, other platforms are taking off. I'm not saying that one is more than the other one, but for us, that was a sufficient level of quite incentive to say, hey, it matches the curiosity and desire of the employees, and you look at the adoption of the community, right? And that is so we made that choice.
Okay. Good. Vlad, thanks for being here so much. Really appreciate it. It was great having you. Hopefully have you back again at some of our other events, particularly when we're all able to finally get back together in person, real events. So thanks so much for doing this, Vlad. It was really great to see you and get to talk to you, and really appreciate it. Everyone,
thank you so much. First talk remote. It's a different experience. So I got through it. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Vlad. I'm going to send everyone back to the floor.